Fans are asking for unbiased Cardinal talk in the comments. Ask and you shall receive. Welcome in. It's the PHNX Cardinals podcast, your premier Arizona Cardinal podcast. Like and subscribe. Leave us a 5-star wherever you get your programming. Johnny Marble, Bo Brock. What's up?
Flying Thunder God. We're allowed to be hella late.
It's not my internet, I can tell you that.
Look, it was Jock Lindell. He was holding court with the PHNX Suns. I highly recommend you check out that episode if you missed out on it. Saul and Lindsay were talking about all the drama surrounding the Phoenix Suns. It's been a banner, 24 hours for PHNX Sports. Had great content. It continues here with PHNX Cardinals. We appreciate everybody hanging out as we are late, absolutely. But
I'll be pumped 10 minutes for Jock Lindell.
Yeah.
Oh, hell yeah. Anytime, any day of the week.
No doubt about it. And then to talk about our new friend of the program. We saw it. Somebody jumped in the replies of PHNX Cardinals on Twitter saying it's confirmed now that Budda Baker is a friend of the program, Johnny.
Well, I don't know if we're going to go that far. Enemy, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. I don't know. I don't know how that goes. But anyway, this is the second time that old Budda has responded to a tweet from me or a post on social from you. And so let's give a little context, Bo Brock. So this went up yesterday-ish.
Yes.
And we talked about Budda talking about feeling like he doesn't get the respect, feels like they don't respect me. And so it's like anything a Budda posts right now, we just are going to take it as an indirect or direct shot at the Arizona Cardinals. So what happened next, Bo Brock, is you posted on our PHNX Cardinals Instagram page a recap of that of some kind. Yeah.
Right. So we posted basically what Budda put up on his stories, kind of this cryptic message of how you feeling. He's feeling like they disrespect me. And then when we posted that at PHNX Cardinals on Instagram, Budda, I woke up to him replying to it. And this is what he said at Budda Baker 3. That's how I train. Like, nobody respects me. Imagine being on your last set and you are dog tired and your body's telling you to quit. They don't respect me. The rage gets me going. My mind is telling me to get that shit up. And then he gave the old peace emoji. That's right. So Budda Baker, in response to our post on PHNX_Cardinals on Instagram. So a little context, as the kids call it. Some would call it cap. I don't know. Are you buying this?
Well, he deleted it too. So we're 2 for 2 with responses and we're 2 for 2 with deletes. He once responded to me kind of shitting on Vance Joseph on Twitter and then he deleted it. Right. And then Vance Joseph wasn't the head coach of the Cardinals. We're very fortunate for that. But this one's I didn't see any issue with what he tweeted. I thought or responded on Instagram. I thought it was great. Somebody must have tagged him, or maybe he searches himself on Instagram. Some people do that on Twitter. But he found the topic, and I would assume that, maybe feels like, these guys, they know what they're talking about. Let me just provide a little clarity, a little levity. I did not know until before the show that he had deleted it. And I don't think it matters much, but I think it gives really good context of, like, he's just probably, this is how he trains every offseason. He just trains like a mad dog, getting ready for the year. He trains about, pushing people and not being respected just universally. And if that's the case, that's really good for the Cardinals. Like, he's probably still upset with the Cardinals, but training to play this fall is better than not training to play and to prove the doubters wrong. What better way to do it if your Budda is like, okay, you don't want to give me more money, I'm going to go like the old school approach. I'm going to go prove it on the field. That's kind of how I took it, Bo.
Right. I think that maybe it was a misstep as far as negotiations go. Maybe that's why it's down, right? Maybe whoever's representing him here, and it's a little murky as far as whose representation is these days, because shortly after the trade request became public knowledge, his representation as far as on his profiles is no longer his previous agency. So I'd be curious to hear, who's representing him and who's maybe leading him through this post trade request and what's going on as far as conversations between Budda Baker and the Cardinals organization. Now, Monty Ossenfort said around the draft time that he's not going to talk about it in the public forums at all, but it's much like DeAndre Hopkins, where, there's the reports and then there's, we're just going to operate business as usual and not really comment on that. But as far as this, it's Budda Baker's kind of first real, I guess, quote that we've seen from him after the trade request. I know he said that, I love you, Red Sea, I love you, Cardinals fans. I'm paraphrasing, after the trade request became public. But, this is him basically. I thought if you're a Cardinals fan, it's like, yeah, he is just kind of putting in the work. He's just operating business as usual. And then he'll figure out, what the logistics of this are, where he's going to be playing along the way. But he's not going to let that get in the way of him becoming the best player he could possibly be.
Yeah, I was relieved when I saw that. I'm like, awesome. Like, he's just, I'm not taking a shot at anybody. Like, if you wanted that to be a shot at the Cardinals, he just wouldn't have responded. You just throw that into the ether and let people run with it. Let us run with it. Other people in the media run with it and say, oh, Budda's upset still. Haven't forgotten about Budda. He's got abs on his back. He's working out like a madman. He's not appreciative of the Cardinals. But the clarity, can we see the quote one more time, producer Shane? It's like, he's just basically, this is his mindset. That's how I train. Like, nobody respects me, right? Imagine being on your last set and your dog tired, your body is telling you to quit. They don't respect me. And I love that clarity, because I read that as a Cardinal fan. It's just like, as Kyle in chat says, Budda's not going anywhere. I think Budda probably has come to grips with, hey man, D-Hop's not getting traded. He's here. I'm not getting traded for a ham sandwich. I'm going to play with the Cardinals this year. I'm going to have a career year, and I'm going to make them pay me or make them release me, and somebody else is going to pay me.
Yeah.
And I think that's a great idea for Budda Baker. And I think that was always the logical path, assuming that he does this, for him to get one more big payday. Because I even think, Bo, he enters the free agent market at 28, coming off an all-pro season for not a great team, right? Let's say the Cardinals aren't good, but he elevates them. He's going to make a ton of money. Somebody's going to pay him the bag if the Cardinals don't, right?
Yeah, I mean, if Jesse Bates got, the Brinks truck
100%.
backed up to him, Budda Baker absolutely would, and he'll continue to be in the conversation as one of the top safeties in the league. And it's really fascinating, and as far as just how he approaches things, and maybe the realization, like, that this team is rebuilding, but they're not in the business of just giving away talent. That's why DeAndre Hopkins is still on this roster. Like, you can make the case like, hey, they didn't retain guys that were due to be paid and sign up to pay Zach Allen $15+ million a year, what people thought they could have matched as far as Byron Murphy Jr. They let those guys walk from, guys that were drafted by the previous regime, and with the idea of putting, those future cap dollars elsewhere. To the rebuild and bringing in their players. But as far as like just giving away players to rid themselves of contracts, they're not going to do that. Monty Ossenfort has proven that already. Like, he's kind of stubborn, as far as a stubborn negotiator. I mean, just look at what he did with the 3rd overall pick. He held out to the final seconds until he had to move that pick or make it. And he maximized that deal. And he would do the same, I think, with any of his players, anything that he deems as an asset going forward. And Budda Baker absolutely is that. He's an asset in two senses. One, on your team, he's a leader. He's one of your best players. Or two, he's a guy that you could potentially deal for future assets. So
yeah,
I don't think that they're in the business of just giving Budda Baker away. And I think he realizes that he understands that they respect him that much, right? They're like, I know he's sick of losing. I know he doesn't want to go through a rebuild, but he has to. I'm sure he understands the business side of this, that they're not just going to give away one of their most talented players for pennies on the dollar.
I feel like the closer we get to the season, we're going to have two deadlines to keep in mind. And the first of which is, does somebody go down in training camp, either a wide receiver or safety, for a contender that immediately calls the Cardinals and they have to overpay? Because you've given an expectation. If you're Buffalo, if you're Kansas City, if Kansas City loses Kadarius Toney, if you're, Philadelphia, somebody like that has expectations, that's an all-in mode, and they call and they say, what do we need to do? We got to get Budda Baker. We got to get DeAndre Hopkins. And I double that down at the trade deadline. Maybe a team feels like this is our year to win it. We've got a quarterback on a rookie deal. This is the last year before so-and-so gets paid. Is it the Von Miller 2.0 deal where Von Miller, I think, went with for like 2 2s or at least a second plus? And, so I think the Cardinals and Monty Ossenford, with respect to Budda Baker, have played this really well. The Hopkins thing, you could say maybe they should have been like, no, we're not trading him, and made somebody overpay. But I do feel like it would not surprise me if a team traded a late first round pick for Budda Baker during the season. I don't think that's realistic for DeAndre Hopkins. I think more in line with a second, depending on how he's playing. Budda Baker, though, still 27. I know it's the safety position. I think you could get a first for Budda Baker during the year, assuming you wanted to take that deal. I don't think that's off the table. Whereas, read Albert Breer and company in late April, people are saying, a third and a fourth. It's just like, no, that's ridiculous. That's absolutely ridiculous.
Right. Yeah. Are you going to be able to recoup? Or are you going to be able to match value of what you get already? A very, I would say at this point, as the years have gone on, as top safety salaries have gone up, it's a very reasonable deal for obviously what you get from Budda Baker on the playing field. Let's see. Everybody's obviously crushing in the chat. What do we got? Let's go with
Flying Thunder God.
Jalen Blair. Budda, as far as Budda ain't making no all-pro team on this defense that's reserved for top 10 players. But look, I don't think Jonathan Gannon doesn't care, if you're all pro, if you're Pro Bowl safety, if you're productive, if you're helping this team, get off the field, maybe make plays in this defense. That's all they care about. They don't care about you getting that all pro.
I'll push back on that. Adrian Wilson was really good for a lot of bad teams, and I think it's a big reason why he probably is never going to get in the Hall of Fame, because he played in the same era with like Troy Polamalu, who was on contenders. Had Adrian Wilson not been on teams that were fledgling in Arizona, maybe he's thought of as a fringe Hall of Fame player, but he's never going to sniff that because those defenses weren't very good. But the A-Dub was good. He was going to Pro Bowls. So I push back on that. I think even if the Cardinals are, let's just call them lackluster defensively this year, you're telling me Budda Baker can't have a robust statistical line of 80-plus tackles, takeaways, interceptions, tackle for loss? Of course he can. He's impacted games before. So I don't think just because they can't rush the passer right now or stop the run, that doesn't hamper. But Budda Baker is going to go out and do his thing. And the tape and the evidence is there. And that's where like all these analytics play a part, is like, you could prop up Budda Baker and say, hey, look what he's doing with this Cardinal defense. Imagine if we took Budda and we put him here on a contender and they gave up a first-round pick.
Just look at what JG and that defense was able to do for Gardner Johnson last year. He comes over from the Saints. His career high previous to that for picks was 3, which I think is the same as Budda Baker, and he hauls down 6 interceptions last year. Now, a lot helped with the pass rush, right? But Jonathan Gannon's going to be able to put Budda Baker probably in the best position of his career to finally start taking the football away. I think that's the one thing, and I've said it and maintained it, that's the one thing really missing from his game. Obviously, he's a torpedo out there, and he's running down ball carriers that you don't even think he's in the play for, and like that's his superpower. But if he is able to kind of start taking the ball away at a higher clip, he gets himself back into that conversation with the top safeties in the league. More of these chats out here. Gary Coker up there saying Monty is shrewd, give away Budda Baker. He's not giving away Budda Baker for nothing. Absolutely. Agent 47, between first round pick and pay $20 million to a safety. I believe he says, I will go with the first round pick. Look, I mean, if that offer was on the table, I think Monty would absolutely probably think about and consider pulling the trigger on that. But look,
I'm going to put you on the spot real quick. Yeah. What are the odds that they finish the 2023 season and the following players are still on the team? Give me your odds for this.
Okay.
Budda Baker, DeAndre Hopkins, Isaiah Simmons, Zach Ertz. Give me the odds that all 4 of those players, or at least one of those players, is dealt.
You want me to the parlay on that? You want the D Hop, Ertz, Budda Baker?
Give me the odd
Isaiah
that one
Simmons
of those players
parlay?
I didn't ask that question well enough.
Okay.
What are the chances that at least one of those players is gone at the end of the year?
Oh, extremely high. Extremely high. I mean, this is they're churning this roster. And I think that especially unless they become an upstart team and surprise everybody against the tough start to their season schedule, win some games like by the trade deadline, unless like they had completely just changed the narrative around the squad and players are playing above their heads and out of their ass. Like, I don't think there's really any chance that doesn't happen. Right. And I think that those players would be players that would be coveted by contending teams. Like, they can come in and Monty Ossenfort can turn them into assets that he can then turn into draft picks in the 2024 draft.
2 thumbs up to that response, Bo Brock, and I love this from Brett Jones, plus 800. That happened. That all of them are on the team.
I'm throwing $5 on that parlay.
I'm 100%. Because I mean, like, listen, we talked to our guy Jordan Schultz from The Score in January. I did not think there was a reality we'd be sitting here in May and D-Hop would be on the team. Well, first of all, other teams would be smarter. That was on me. That nobody wanted to trade a third for DeAndre Hopkins or a second and a fourth or whatever it was. But interesting, man. Cardinals, and that's like the hardest.
Is it like the BetMGM fire sale parlay? You can get if you hit all 4 of those legs, you're a big fat winner.
They do have some fun stuff during the season that we'll have to check out. Now we get closer, just like their draft props were great. Like, we'll get closer to the season. It's like, who does he finish the team with or the season with, and trade deadline, props and that kind of thing. But in the meantime, there's still a ton of good stuff to do with our friends at BetMGM, because you're calling your shot right now. We've teamed up with BetMGM this season, coming this fall, every single Sunday. BetMGM Sportsbook at the Great Lawn at State Farm Stadium to make all of our picks. And we've got some special offers for the listeners every single week. So every Saturday and Wednesday with our friends at BetMGM, you can claim your bonus bet. You know what a bonus bet is? It's a bet bonused up. Check it out. Fans are automatically going to receive a bonus bet upon logging into their account with our friends at BetMGM. Now, the bet does expire after roughly 72 hours, so don't wait. You got to use it. There's plenty of stuff to wager on. NBA postseason, PGA golf's in full swing, MLB action. And then, we got football right around the corner, but bonus bets can literally be used on any sports wager. So that's great. What was also great, how about our PHNX Suns away watch parties presented by Neutral? Was a fantastic opportunity for us. Hopefully we get to run it back next year en route to what the Nuggets and the Lakers are attempting to do, and that's the NBA Finals. But something that we know definitively is going down. It's the first Friday of every month, May through August. We've got the Knockout Nights Cornhole League, which is a lot of fun, free specials, giveaways, BetMGM prizes, tons of good stuff. If you haven't signed up with our friends at BetMGM yet, use that bonus code PHNX. There's a few different offers depending on where you live, but specifically for our Arizona people, because, after last night with the Coyotes, I'm trying to help get the spirits up here. So you're going to get a free, you're going to get up to $100 in bonus bets on your first wager with BetMGM. But you got to use the bonus code PHNX. And now you got to check out the show notes to hear producer Shane, gambling aficionado, talk about it in the disclaimer.
Disclaimer, 21 plus to wager. Visit BetMGM.com for terms and conditions. U.S. promotional offers not available in Washington, D.C., Mississippi, Nevada, New York, and Ontario. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Colorado, D.C., Illinois, Indiana, Louisiana, Maryland, Mississippi, New Jersey, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, Virginia, West Virginia, Wyoming. Call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. New York. Call 1-800-NEXT-STEP, Arizona. 1-800-522-4700, Kansas, Nevada. 1-800-327-5050, Massachusetts. 1-800-BETS-OFF, Iowa. 1-800-270-7117 for confidential help, Michigan.
There were a lot of tears and beers last night at the Four Peaks tasting room there in Tempe, kind of the just on the border of Tempe and Chandler, kind of by the Arizona Cardinals facility out there. Hopefully the people made their ways to the Four Peaks 8th Street location as well, maybe got some grub and continue to maybe drown their sorrows in some great Four Peaks beer. But our friends over at PHNX Coyotes have done a great job in as far as making people feel a little bit more comfortable after the brutal results from the vote yesterday. And Four Peaks is also a big part of that. If you're looking to follow some great, I guess, accounts on social media, you got to do Four Peaks because they've got great events going on always. They've got, like, they just did their teacher appreciation. You don't want to miss out on that. And you also don't want to miss out on their Four Peaks 4 seats. It's the lucky winner who's going to get 4 seats to an upcoming Diamondbacks game. Tickets with D-Bucks, where you can grab some food with those D-Bucks, ice cold wow wheat. Of course, you can put your D-Bucks towards that or a Hop Knot. Enter to win at Four Peaks Brew on Instagram. There's a link in their bio. That's how you can sign up to win 4 tickets to watch Arizona Diamondbacks play some great baseball and drink some great beer as it goes with Four Peaks. Of course, you got the Kilt Lifter. They got the Kilt Lifter bourbon barrel aged, which is so smooth. You got to check out all their bourbon barrel aged beer out there at Four Peaks. And also follow them on Twitter as well at Four Peaks Brew. Got to be 21 years or older, and you got to enjoy it responsibly. But Four Peaks, we love our partnership. It's unbelievable. They've been around the Valley for 25 years. They do have a location in Tempe, and it's not just going to continue to be a junkyard. It's great.
A landfill. Yeah. Tempe, come on, get it together. Four Peaks is there. Let's make some magic happen with the Coyotes. But if you haven't checked out the show from earlier today with Leah, Petey, and Craig, go check that out. Much smarter people than any of us as it relates to that situation. The smartest people in the NHL landscape as it relates to what's going on with the Coyotes. What's going on with the Cardinals offensive line? I think we will continue our review of the Arizona Cardinals offseason depth chart predictions. If you remember on the show yesterday, we predicted the front 7 or 6 for the Arizona Cardinals and Jonathan Gannon. But Bo, now we turn our attention to some other big heavies on the offensive side. And I'm going to go on record right now. I think this is the best collection of offensive line talent that the Cardinals have had in maybe half a decade. Now, I might be singing a different tune at the end of the year, but of all the units on this team, and they got some sorry units, this is one where it's like, this deserves some love. They could surprise, especially with their tackles who are experienced and talented.
Yeah, they certainly have, I guess, numbers is their strength there. I don't know. It's more quantity over quality. I'll push back. I mean, obviously, a decade. You look at Jared Beldier holding down the left tackle spot, Mike Iapati at the guard spot, and then you had Lyle Sendeline, one of the more consistent centers in recent history for the Arizona Cardinals. But and center is probably the biggest question mark as far as this offensive line goes, Johnny, because you've got experience, as you mentioned, at tackle, and I think you've got enough experience at guard and some up-and-comers that would intrigue you or get you excited, especially if you incorporate first-round pick Paris Johnson Jr. in that conversation. But center is the one position where, like, okay, you've got like 1.5 options that you can say, okay, if one of them pans out, great. But if one of them doesn't, this is going to be a disaster, and it's going to be another hole at that position for a second consecutive year where they expected, Rodney Hudson to not retire, hold that spot down. He couldn't do it, couldn't be healthy at all. And then they had kind of like Sean Harlow / Billy Price, and it was just a mess of a position for the 2022 season, and a big reason why they had very little success on the offensive side of the football. So when you look at this, I think centers, let's take a look at the centers options that they have, Johnny, as we start to make our predictions. Well, Yeldell Froholt, who comes over from the Cleveland Browns, kind of follows Drew Petzing, who was the quarterback's coach there in Cleveland last year. And then you got the rookie versatile offensive lineman that the Cardinals took in the 4th round out of UCLA, John Gaines II. City Smith, he worked out there a little bit last year during his rookie season. And then Hayden Howerton, he comes over, he's been in the league, but he hasn't seen any snaps at this level, kind of another versatile offensive lineman. Those are your 4 options for this position. And I think that this is by far, the biggest question mark going into this season, going into training camp.
Yeah, and it's probably on paper. I mean, you show that group to the casual NFL fan, they're not going to know any of those players. Now, Lacita Smith, an actual friend of the program, is somebody that easy to root for, was a Hard Knocks darling last year, had played a pivotal role in the lone, I think one of the lone road wins of the year at the LA Rams, and did his job against Aaron Donald and company. So I'm anxious to see him. John Gaines, though, is the guy I've got my eye on, somebody that, again, early 4th round pick, super athletic, collegiate starter for, I think, 4 years at UCLA. His athleticism is off the charts, but he's also got positional flexibility, as we're going to talk about here with the guards in a second. But Froholt's going to get the benefit of the doubt because of his familiarity with Drew Petzing and the offense that they're going to run. He was in Cleveland last year. So, okay, Mr. Froholt, hold it down. This is really his one opportunity to become a starter for 17 games and maybe parlay it into another contract, a 2 or 3 year deal. We'll have to wait and see, because he's bounced around some teams. He's been presumably a backup his entire career. This is a unit, though, that I would say is the most fluid of all of the positions. I feel like everything else you could pencil in, like best case scenario, here's what this is going to happen. It's like, if any of these guys are starting by Halloween, maybe not the last of that group, but the top 3 guys, Frold, Holt, Gaines, or Lacita Smith, like, I would not be surprised. I don't know if that's a good place to be, because you want continuity, but if we're sitting here in May of 2024 and the Cardinals just took a center high, I will not be surprised. I feel like, in my opinion, they could have used an early center prospect. But if Jonathan Gaines comes out of the woodwork and becomes that player, that's awesome. I just thought the talent was there to pluck one early on day 2 of the NFL draft.
Rafa 30 in the chat saying right now Frode Holt is the center with Lacita as the backup. I mean, we'll see. You know, Gaines was making some snaps in rookie minicamp, but it might have been just out of necessity to have somebody snap the football in that small group of rookies that were, you know, from the 9-person draft class and the 10 that they had unsigned and a couple invitees there. So, and Jonathan Gannon said after, you know, rookie minicamp that they want to really capitalize on the versatility from Gaines, who can play all 3, you know, offensive line positions, tackle, center, and guard. So let's take a look at the guard options here before we unveil. We'll do guards and tackles before we unveil what we predict as the starting offensive line for the Cardinals. So guards, and we're going to include the first-round pick, 6th overall selection, Paris Johnson Jr. out of Ohio State. He actually started most of the season in 2021 for the Buckeyes at right guard. You got Will Hernandez, who started at right guard for the Cardinals for the bulk of last season. He did have that pec injury, missed some time. Lacita Smith, as you mentioned, did a great job against Aaron Donald and the Rams. Last season, Marquise Hayes, we were robbed of seeing Marquise Hayes, the Oklahoma second-year player who had a knee injury right before the start of the season. John Gaines, as we mentioned, versatile. Elijah Wilkinson, free agent ad. Simmons, who was on the practice squad last year for the Cardinals, and Dennis Daly, who played tackle for the Titans last year. But I think I'll tell you this about Dennis Daly. I saw his name trending like a week ago. My God, just a house of horrors it was when I clicked on his name. It was basically the Tennessee Titans just celebrating that he's no longer a member of their organization.
That's too bad.
It was addition by subtraction. He played the tackle position, though, for the Titans last year. We'll see if the Cardinals view him as more of a versatile offensive lineman.
I think they view him as a backup, and I think they view him as a non-starter, and that's what he should be for the Cardinals. This is to keep him away. If he wants to be on, you know, the team and practice with the team, awesome. Dress him on game days, keep him away from the starting lineup. I like that group. It's fine. Will Hernandez, I am surprised that he got a 2-year deal. Now, it's a minimal 2-year deal, but I go back to what did Will Hernandez do that a lot of other people didn't do? And this isn't the end all be all, but he was at Jonathan Gannon's opening press conference, went up, introduced himself, basically said, like, I want to be here. And, you know, Austin Ford, I'm sure, watched the tape last year and saw a guy who was probably playing his best career football before going down and one of the few constants. So I like Will Hernandez short term with the opportunity to upgrade at some point. If he can stay healthy with Kelvin Beachum on that right side, that's about as stable of a unit as you can get, given where the Cards are at. Minimal money, but those guys are not going to embarrass themselves. It's the other side of the offensive line and the center that I'm a little bit more concerned about, because I mean, you could flip a coin and have about 6 different options, good and bad, at left guard opening weekend.
Pickens Reds. His insight on this, he's just not used to a hatless Johnny.
Can we get a side profile real fast?
No, we're not going to do that.
Come on, let me see.
Somebody said I cut my hair with Manscaped.
You look fantastic, Sean.
Did you get the lawnmower out?
I got the lawnmower 4.0 and just did it myself. No,
that is clean.
A man by the name of Hercules cuts my hair here in Maricopa. He's a gem. And one of the few benefits of living in this town is my barber, pretty solid.
You're gonna miss him. You're gonna miss him whenever you move out of Maricopa. Let's continue this conversation. I'll just say this real quick. Hernandez, I loved his nasty streak. I know sometimes it's to a fault, and sometimes he gets himself in trouble. He get flagged up. Did he get tossed from a game last year?
Yeah, I love it. I'm all about that.
When you got a quarterback like Kyler Murray, you got to have kind of an enforcer out there. Somebody's going to put their nose in any scrum and make sure everybody's getting protected. even to a fault. I'll take that. And I thought he did have a bit of a resurgence, and he endeared himself to this community. He kind of grew up close to here, isn't he? From Nevada originally.
Yeah.
He's obviously got a connection to the Hispanic community, and you just love to see it. And he suffered the pec injury and tried to get back as quick as possible in a lost season. So you have to appreciate all that when it comes to Will Hernandez. One last look at the tackles before we unveil our starting offensive line here for the Cardinals. Of course, you got the old steady there, Calvin Beachum, only offensive lineman to play all 17 games last year. DJ Humphries, we'll see what his status is coming back from a back injury. Josh Jones, who filled in for DJ down the stretch there. Dennis Daly, as we mentioned, a 4-letter word for Titans fans. Julian Davenport, and then you've got and then Paris Johnson Jr. in the equation here as far as who could potentially start a tackle for the Cardinals. But it's a conversation, I think, that comes down to maybe 4 guys: Hump, Beach, Jones, and Paris Johnson Jr.
Deepest unit on the team. It's got to be up there. I mean, we've seen Josh Jones not embarrass himself at tackle. When DJ Humphries is right, he's a really good player. Beachum has probably been the most steady offensive lineman they've had in 2 years. And Paris Johnson Jr., I believe, has all pro upside. So yeah, I'm in love with this unit. I did not think in the height of their rebuild they would have a deep tackle group, but that's where we're at. I'd love to see that they're prioritizing this group. So, is it the last year for Humphries? Is it the last year for Josh Jones? I think this unit's going to look very different next year, but I mean, at the end of the day, it's all about Paris Johnson Jr. And as you'll see in my prediction here, I do not want to play Paris Johnson Jr. outside of tackle. I think that the mindset should be, especially early on when Kyler Murray's not there, is we're going to take, if we're starting Colt McCoy or whomever, we need to take lumps as an offense. I'm going to let Paris Johnson Jr. sink or swim at tackle. I think that's the right decision. I'm going to explain that more, but love this depth, and kudos to Austin Ford for giving himself some options here as they open training camp.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You want to get into it? You want to tell our good friends about Pins and Aces?
Pins and Aces, you know how I feel about them. Peacocking, as I refer to my polo that I am in love with. The quality, it's, we've got PHNX merchandise, very high quality. So if we're talking about some other gear, it's of high quality. And that's what you get with our friends at Pins and Aces. It's the official golf provider of PHNX and ALLCITY. You see our friends at DMVR, CHGO rocking the gear. Perfect time to go out now. Hit the links with our friends at Pins and Aces. They've got hats, polos, golf bags. They've even got this beer sleeve. It's this product that you can store, I think, like 7 beers right inside your golf bag, and it keeps your drinks cold the entire round. And I'm going to tell you right now, you can go and check that out and purchase that with the promo code PHNX. You're going to receive 15% off, Bo, your first order with free shipping at pinsandaces.com. Again, pinsandaces.com. Check out their gear, constantly restocking, reloading their items because they go quick, right? You got to use the promo code PHNX to get 15% off and free shipping. And oh, by the way, you get your gear. Come out to Dobson Ranch on May 26th. Love our friends at Dobson Ranch. Perfect superpowers coming together. Dobson, Pins and Aces, keeping it 100 golf tournament. Again, that's May 26th. Pins and Aces is going to be there.
Pins and Aces polo. That's worth the price of admission right there.
Tremendous, tremendous, tremendous. You will not want to miss this right now. Keeping it 100. Love our friends at Pins and Aces. Check them out at pinsandaces.com.
Speaking of haircuts, our guy Spencer's got a legendary haircut. Just a top-tier elite mullet he's going to have on full display at the golf tournament. Can't wait for it. If you're going to hit the links, can't do it without some nice shades. Shady Rays are going to hook you up with the top deal of the season. If you use the code PHNX, you get 50% off 2 or more pairs polarized premium sunglasses. I've got some Shady Rays. Just purchased some for myself, my son, my wife. We are Shady Rays family. It's official. Good. Just as we confirmed, Budda Baker's a friend of the program. We are Shady Rays family. You should be as well. You got to check out everything that they've got going on that's going to keep your eyes in working condition this entire summer. Of course, the sun's going to be bearing down on you, and we got the exclusive deal for our listeners, our viewers. Shady Rays giving out the best deal. Go to shadyrays.com. Use the code PHNX. Get 50% off 2 or more pairs of polarized sunglasses. Try for yourself the shades that are rated 5 stars by 250,000 people. It's unbelievable. Check them out. shadyrays.com.
So I have my Shady Rays that I love, and I have some other name brand sunglasses, and my wife's like, these are way better. Way better. They make your face not look like improportionate, which is like a backhanded compliment, but maybe Shady Rays can do that for you. Super chat, $9.99. Thank you so much. Topic 64, friend of the program. Budda is a beast, but we will never talk about the other guy. Over 100 tackles, just like Budda, 8 pass breakups and a pick. Budda not the only safety we got. And I think that's their mindset. Is Jalen Thompson, much more reasonable contract that they signed last offseason. I think that if you have Jalen Thompson, maybe a future rookie, a little bit more cost efficient for this franchise, Bo.
Yeah. And also topic 64, correcting you as far as the pronunciation of our golf tournament.
What did I say? Keeping it 100? 100.
Yeah.
Keeping it 100.
Keeping it 100.
100. Keeping it 100. Hey, kids, come out.
We'll be keeping it 100.
We're all going to be keeping it 100.
You guys are the absolute worst.
Hey, keep it a buck, brother.
Gotta put some soul on it, brother. Topic 64. Thank you for the $4.99 super chat and the lesson for my co-host. Oh man, hilarious.
I never know when to take those risks, because then I feel like if I take that risk and I say it a certain way and it's not the correct vernacular, then we're too off the reservation where that gets clipped. So I like to keep it safe, but keeping it 100 is good for me.
That's good. Fishbowl Flash. We'll answer this question after we unveil or reveal our offensive lines. Any chance of picking up a veteran RB on a prove-it deal? And we're getting closer to June 1st. We'll see some activity once the calendar flips to the next month, June. Obviously, the contracts for 2023 start to change a little bit as far as they go towards the cap. But let's take a look at my starting offensive line here. We broke it down for you: centers, guards, tackles, and I came to the conclusion that I believe it's going to look like this. DJ Humphries, of course, at his left tackle spot. If DJ can't go, I still think that they probably go in favor of a vet like Josh Jones. He'll be your swing tackle. Kelvin Beachum's your right tackle. I've got Yelda Froholt holding things down at center. Paris Johnson Jr. makes his way into the starting lineup at a position that he played for a high clip of snaps at Ohio State in 2021 and played very well for the Buckeyes. At right guard, Will Hernandez, you're saying, well, he played right guard last year. Why wouldn't he just come back and play right guard again? He's actually played more career snaps at left guard in his career, nearly 2,000 snaps at left guard in his career. I think that you can maybe ask the vet to play on a different side of the line than the rookie right away. And, just looking at Paris Johnson Jr., I know you can only take a few things from rookie minicamp, but he was kind of getting down in maybe a right guard stance more than opposed to a left guard stance. So I think he might be preparing even for the right guard position. So that's my starting lineup. Hump at left tackle, Hernandez at left guard, Yelda Froholt at center, Paris Johnson Jr., PJ Squared at guard, and then Kelvin Beachum at right tackle. Maybe Kelvin Benjamin if he's not staying away from the snacks still.
Oh, geez. Low blow. That's the very safe approach, and I'm not surprised.
Oh, wow.
You're a safe guy.
Why you just spit in my face by calling it safe?
You're a safe guy. You just button up your shirt, put your shoes on one shoe at a time. We all know that training camp doesn't always go as you'd like it. There are injuries. There are people who perform over expectations. So while I think that you have a lot of rationale here in early May saying, oh, this is what the offensive line is going to look like in September, it is incorrect, though. Here is the correct one. My prediction for the offensive line: Paris Johnson Jr. is starting at left tackle. He's never given that job back. Sorry, DJ. DJ's got a bad back. DJ's been hurt for the last calendar year plus. DJ has no allegiance and vice versa to the front office and this coaching staff. I love DJ Humphries. Put him in all the promotional videos, whatever. He's going to be paid regardless. But they pushed all of his guaranteed money to this year. Why? So they could get rid of him. They actively signed Kelvin Beachum to a 2-year contract. So presumably he's going to be on the team at least through this year, probably next year. So then what does that leave for the right guard position? If Paris Johnson Jr. is starting at left tackle, what about Jonathan Gaines? Jonathan Gaines comes in, and again, I know, well, ALLCITY Smith and Marquise Hayes, they were in the NFL last year. Big freaking deal. John Gaines, number one, was a draft pick of Monty Austinford, so he has the leg up. And number two, he played a ton of snaps at UCLA. He is plug and play. He's one of the very few third
He's not, though.
Day 3 picks for the Cardinals that can come in, I believe, and play immediately. Froldholt's the center. I've been beaten into submission with that. Whatever. Hernandez is a starter. Kelvin Beachum. If no one can look me in the eye right now and tell me DJ Humphries is going to be healthy to start week 1. Nobody can tell me that. You know who the Josh Jones on a contract here is not the next in line. If you don't have confidence in Paris Johnson Jr. to be the understudy to DJ Humphries, then he shouldn't have been the 6th overall pick. Don't throw Josh Jones in my face. That's just Paris Johnson Jr. is going to start left tackle week 1.
I love your passion. I do.
Johnny gets in arguments with himself.
Yeah, I mean, look, I mean, it's you can't.
I'm taking it out from the 100 joke. That's my.
I really appreciate your passion, but then I look at how John Gaines performed against USC, which had a terrible defense, and he couldn't even keep his defender in front of him against
Chip Kelly, or I'm going with
struggle against Pitt. Here. The only good games he had an elite game against the Sun Devils.
Hell yeah. Sorry, Shane.
But any of the top tier talent in the Pac-12, like Washington, struggled. Utah, horrible game. Oregon wasn't that great. I mean, you want to throw this thrust that he had a horrible game against Bowling Green, and you want to play him against Chase Young and Deron Payne and that Washington Commanders front 7 in week 1. I don't see it.
I am tuning up the machine for K1 in October. Get your licks in with Clayton Tune or whomever we're going to sacrifice that first month, and let those rookies learn on the fly. So when Kyler Murray's back, we've got a couple games with Paris, couple games with John Gaines, right? I don't care to see some of these veterans anymore. I'm over them. Goodbye.
That's going to get veteran quarterbacks hurt. And there's no chance if that's the starting offensive line to start the season. I can guarantee it, and you can take this as good or bad. But Colt McCoy's wife will not let the mother of his children will not let him go out and play behind that offensive line.
Coney, everyone has elite games against ASU. Oh man, that's rough. Maybe in the Lions.
It's a new day in Tempe. Okay.
Fan.
Paris Johnson Jr.
He had a good game against
you. Triathlon U of A.
He had a decent game against the Wildcats too. Okay, so I'll throw that in there as well.
He just plays good football when he gets in the state. How about that? When he sees those colors for those universities, he plays good football. And
so he's going to parlay that into playing.
Okay, it's science, Bo Brog.
You
think DJ Humphries is going to be healthy and ready to go?
He was asking why play Paris Johnson Jr. at right guard, because I think he has 3 people in front of him that if they're healthy between Hump, Beach, and Jones, that those are the better options right now at tackle. But for him to get a taste of starting and playing and seeing NFL defenses, why not get him in there, get those reps, those live reps against the guard position, and not just go in there and get beat badly, to start his career.
I'm going to pull. Producer Shane, don't kill me. Look at this monster right now. I'm not going to say that DJ Humphries can't move, but he can't move like this guy. Go look at the work that he's done during the offseason, the backpedaling that Paris Johnson Jr. does. Like, the only reason you're starting DJ is he's more experienced, right? And that matters, but you're doing that at right tackle with Kelvin Beachum. Kelvin Beachum is not right now the 10th of the athlete of Paris Johnson Jr., but I'm not for putting him at right tackle.
If Paris Johnson Jr. and obviously Gannon will give you the cliche, like everything's a competition, but if he beats out these 3 veterans and he's starting at left tackle, that I am 100% on board with that. That would be a huge win for Monty Ossenfort, JG, everybody involved as far as the Arizona Cardinals go, because he's that good. There's no way John Gaines is making his way onto the starting lineup of this. I mean, I agree with this in the chat. I think it was Gary saying he's going to get schooled by Marquise Hayes. Marquise Hayes is coming off the knee injury. He's played at Oklahoma. I mean, look at the guard position. Lasita Smith, Marquise Hayes. You've got some veterans mix in there that he's going to have to beat out. I just don't see it happening.
There's going to be favoritism toward these draft picks of this new regime. And I get it. Jalen Blair says, I think Johnny's underestimating JG already values Hump. I don't discredit that. I think that's a real thing. I also know like DJ Humphries is, I mean, how many years away from probably not playing football anymore? And I think you get into camp and guys are sitting out, guys are missing reps. That was a calling card of the Cliff Kingsbury, Steve Keim years. How many times injury report, didn't practice today? You know who isn't going to want to see that and then reward them with snaps and starts on Sunday? Jonathan Gannon and Monty Ossenford. Because I'm going to double down Libertarian Sasquatch. Why I don't fully believe this. There's some rationale to it, some honesty here. This is a bad football team. Let them get their reps. What, like, DJ Humphries not practicing all week and then thrusting him out there with a bad back is not good for this team long term. And I if you're telling me that DJ Humphries goes through training camp and is healthy and looks the best he looks in 5 years, that's great. Then you should start him. Does anyone want to put $5 on that at BetMGM? Because I'm going to tell you right now, when's the last time that's happened? He was hurt 2 years ago. He was hurt 4 years ago. And he was hurt last year. He held out all training camp to get more money and then couldn't play last year. Meanwhile, you took this isn't Peter Skoronski with baby arms playing guard. And this isn't Darnell Wright, who's a better right tackle. This is Paris Johnson Jr., the unequivocal best left tackle in this draft. You take a tackle top 10. And unless you've got Trent Williams or somebody holding it down on that left side, you give them every opportunity to play that position. So where you're pushing back on Gaines, that's more probably wishful thinking on my end because I want to see him play. And I'll get to see him play in the preseason. So I'm with you there. But I don't think it's as crazy as it sounds that Paris Johnson Jr. either wins that job outright or because Humphries just isn't available. When's he available, guys? No one can tell me that definitively. He was awful when they needed him most at the end of 2022, when they desperately needed to win the NFC West. Go put the tape on. He missed the Dallas game. Josh Jones played well. He came back against Seattle and got absolutely smoked by a defensive line, oh, by the way, with LJ Collier and company. Humphries has not played great football in a consistently great football. I'm not rewarding that. And the Cardinals are not going to be in the DJ Humphries business this time next year.
You remember who the top tackle in the draft was the previous draft?
Last year wasn't a great tackle class. Or no, it was the Seahawks.
At NC State.
Ike Ekwonu.
Yeah. The kid at NC State, stayed in the same state, played for the Carolina Panthers. This is a stat line. 13 penalties and allowed 6 sacks.
That's not terrible.
The tackle position is wait, what did you say?
6 sacks for the year?
And he was penalized 13 times. They were either going backwards because he gave up a sack or he was getting penalized and they were going backwards even more so. I mean, it's the tackle position is not just like, how were the
tackles for the Seahawks last year? The kid out of Mississippi State,
Cross,
he was a baller. Charles Cross played for Big Boy University. You know who else did? Paris Johnson Jr. I think we overthought it last year with little ACC NC State program conversion here. SEC, Ohio
Charles
State.
Cross gave up 7 sacks last year.
Everybody told me how great Charles Cross was last year. And you know who is thankful that they played him? Pete Carroll and company, that they played Charles Cross. And then they played a late round pick.
But they didn't have anybody.
Right,
they've never had anybody on the offensive line.
Everybody bailed on the
Seattle.
Seahawks.
They didn't have anybody that resembled a DJ Humphries, a Kelvin Beachum, or Josh Jones.
You're making my point for me. The Seahawks, everybody thought they were tanking last year. What did they do? They played a bunch of rookies, and they were really good.
You guys want to hear something funny?
Okay.
I actually bet that Ike Ekwonu would go first overall last year because I got some bad information.
He was a riser. He was last year. I mean,
$100 on BetMGM that he was going to go first.
He was
overall.
Somebody that was people were putting him in the top 5 routinely. He ended up going 6 overall, and it was like this guy is a riser because people saw on the tape at NC State playing in the ACC that he was going to be a franchise left tackle. And he comes in, and it doesn't mean that he can't still be. Like he could probably still be a solid left tackle.
I'll make a bet with you right now.
Same thing goes for Cross, but it's going to come with he's going to take his lumps, no doubt about it. And the Arizona Cardinals don't have a whole lot of like. I understand that there's like a fine line between getting young players PT and then being liabilities, right? And I don't think Paris Johnson's going to be a liability, but he's got to be able to beat these guys out and compete. It's got to be close if they're going to make the decision to play him over these guys. You don't just go because you're the 6th overall pick.
Yeah, but they traded. I mean, they basically gave up a first round pick to get him. they gave up the 33rd or 34th overall pick, which is basically a first rounder, to go up from 12 to 6 to get him. You don't do that he's not in your immediate plans to play his natural position. I'll make you a bet right now. I'll give you 4-1 odds. So $20. He's starting at left tackle week 1, no matter the circumstance. So I pay you out 20 if it's anybody but Paris Johnson Jr. You got to pay me $80 if it's Paris Johnson Jr. week 1 against the Washington Commanders.
I have to pay you $80?
Yeah, it's 4-1 odds.
Okay, I'll take that bet.
You will. Okay, 20 bones, 4-1 odds at 80.
I still owe Johnny two
Bloomin' Onions.
2 Bloomin' Onions.
But I wish BetMGM had Bloomin' Onions and we could
just pay you out.
Yeah, we could
pay you out in Bloomin' Onions. I'm gonna cash out this ticket in Bloomin' Onions. Please.
What do we got? Topic 64, $4.99 super chat. Beachum out there like baby Huey. You need to be a guard when Josh is gonna get an opportunity. Look, if Paris Johnson Jr. is getting reps at right guard or right tackle, I'll take it. I do see value in him playing year 1, but putting him at the big boy spot, left tackle, when you have 3 tackles with way more experience in front of them, I just think that's just smart. That's just a smarter way to go about it. Like, there's one thing in getting and seeing live ammo, but there's also potential of developing bad habits because they're so overwhelmed. And I think that's a fine line, and it's going to come down to JG and Petzing and riding that line. So yes, thank you, Jalen Blair. It was an easy $20 to make.
So go put the Georgia tape on. He almost had a 70 PFF grade against what a lot of people think is an NFL defensive line. I thought he was phenomenal that night. I mean, I've watched that game film 2 or 3 times over during draft season because of how well he played. And CJ Stroud looked like a completely different player. So, I'm trying to manifest this into reality. Bo's probably right. But I think, though, we go through the fall. I've seen this narrative with DJ Humphries before. I would have moved him if I could. But, this is where Austin Ford, and you can't blame them. I mean, they would not have re-signed Jalen Thompson. They would not have re-signed Marcus Golden. They got rid of him. DJ Humphries got a contract. I mean, we're talking about all these other contracts like Diop and Budda, but it's these mid-tier contracts, not Humphries, but some of these other, that are really plaguing them right now that they would love to move off of. I think if they had an opportunity, Bo, to say, DJ, you play elsewhere, we can take all of your salary and exonerate ourselves from it. We don't pay you a dime, and we're going to start Paris Johnson Jr. at left tackle from day 1. I think they would do that. I don't think they have any interest in paying DJ Humphries 8 figures a year. I just don't. He hasn't been good. He hasn't been an 8-figure player.
But they also were interested in bringing back just to flood the position in numbers just in case, right? And I think that's the philosophy of the organization overall. I can appreciate that, and I could remove. I like the idea of keeping vets in there that have experience and also drafting guys at premium positions like left tackle with the idea that they're going to hold down that spot for the future and beyond. I mean, it's big, but it doesn't mean hey, week 1, he's got to be in there or he's going to be a flop or a bust, or it's not worth moving from 12 back to 6. So, but look, I think they're in a decent spot offensive line wise. I know Mike Clay and some other rankings out there, I can't remember, had him in the 20s. I think that's vastly underrated, and that they should maybe be approaching, top 20 as far as offensive unit, just as far as their depth goes.
It's funny because they had Will Hernandez as a top 40 free agent, and yet the Cardinals bring him back, and they're like, Cardinals are terrible. It's I would probably put their offensive line unit 17th. Just
somebody called Paris Johnson a luxury pick. I mean, because they had, and it wasn't. I mean, it was a premium position that they're gearing up for at the future of the spot. So regardless of which direction they go, you hope you just get better play than last year, and there's a good mix, I think. Continuity, and there's in youth infusion, and then it just experience. I think that Monty Osford's done a decent job, and this is just the beginning. Who knows where they fall? They could have 2 top 5 picks. You could be eyeing the kid out of Notre Dame, another tackle. That's one of the top tackles in the class, and wouldn't go wrong with using one of your first 2 first-round picks on him. So it's exciting to think about.
How about those Chiefs Cardinals? He's saying Cardinals will get Caleb Williams and Marvin Harrison Jr. There's going to be time to talk about all that. We're going to talk about it over the course of the summer into this season. They're going to surprise.
To Trevor Sikkema tomorrow from Pro Football Focus. He's joining. He's a draft expert. We'll see. Let's just put him on this. Let's just do a mock draft with him and have him make the selection.
Perfect. True friend of the program. Talked to him at the Combine. He's a great guy, great insight, does a fantastic job for PFF. And we will quiz him about Paris Johnson Jr. and where he probably should open up this season. In the meantime, check out GoPHNX.com. If there's ever been a better time to be a diehard at GoPHNX.com, I don't know it. Craig Morgan is your number one go-to source for everything Arizona Coyotes. Gerald Bourguet is eloquently breaking down this coaching search for the Phoenix Suns. We've got our guy Howard Balzer, who's been hanging with us, our beat reporter, talking about what's going on with the Redbirds as it relates to this entire offseason. I mean, it's been such a busy time for all of these franchises, some good, some bad, but you're going to get it all in one-stop shop. 90% of these articles are free, but in the meantime, become a diehard, pick up a free t-shirt or hat when you become a diehard. Discounts, membership perks. Yell at us in the Cardinals Discord at PHNX. So tons of good stuff, but you got to become a diehard at GoPHNX.com, Bo.
Yeah, we'll end it with this. Mikey Smith in this great chat. Fresh Cut Johnny equals the CEO. He brought it down. It's just like Budda Baker. You can't delete this. It lives forever.
Now you have to end this show.
The CEO of sex. Fresh Cut Johnny. We can't disagree with that. Love our chat. Everybody crushing it here on just a random Wednesday in May in the football off season. Thank you for subscribing to PHNX Sports. Do so if you haven't already. Set yourself up for alerts. Of course, follow us on your socials at Johnny Venerable, at Bo Brock, and of course at PHNX_Cardinals. Give our guy Shane Deef a follow as well on Twitter. All right, we'll talk to you guys tomorrow. As we said, Trevor Sikkema from Pro Football Focus, talking draft, talking offseason, all things Cardinals with us. We'll talk to you then.